James Potter, Remus Lupin, Sirius Black, Peter Pettigrew, Pulse of Breath, and The Prisoner of Azkaban by gonzoclock. Chapter 5. James is curled up in his bed, using his pillow to muffle the sobs racking through his body. It had taken every last ounce of determination and grit he had in him for him to keep it together as long as he did, and he just can't do it anymore. It had taken hours, but they'd finally gotten Sirius into the showers, changed into the spare pajamas the elves had managed to procure, and into bed. Not Sirius's bed, but a bed. James had managed to stave the panic attack off until he'd heard Sirius and Remus stop shifting around each other and their breathing even out. Wormtail is in there too, somewhere as a rat likely. Sirius and Wormy both tend to cope with things better as they're animals. James does too, but only when Prongs has room to run. There's not a whole lot for a deer to do in a fully furnished room. Well, they're really very good at being in the way, but besides that. He turns over, trying to even his breathing out. It doesn't. None of this feels real. Lily, dead. Alice, Frank, dead, probably. Pete, dead. Countless others gone. Remus all alone for years. And Sirius. James can't even think about that without dissolving into another round of tears. What happened? What could have possibly happened in the next few years of the marauders' lives that could change things so drastically? James closes his eyes, pushing his palms into his eyelids and taking in a quiet, shuddering gasp. Harry had gone to his aunt's, which means James's parents are probably dead. What feels like less than 10 hours ago, James had parents, a family, a life. Now he's very likely an orphan in an unfamiliar world, surrounded by unfamiliar people, and he has to keep it together. For himself, yes, but mostly for his friends, practically the only family he's got now. And Harry. James the original had a son in the middle of a war. How stupid was he? Harry had to have been an accident. It's the only thing that makes sense. Why on earth would anyone have a baby in the middle of a war? Not only did they have a baby in the middle of the war, but then they'd gone and died and left Harry to be raised by, well, James doesn't know the details, but he's pretty sure that calling them monsters isn't far off the mark at all. James shoves the pillow over his face, muffling a quiet groan of dismay. He is far too young to be a father, much less a father to a traumatized kid only 2 years younger than him. He doesn't even know how to begin to address the part where Harry apparently survived an unforgivable killing curse. James takes a steadying breath. He's spiraling. No one is expecting him to be a dad. Hell, Harry had damn near died when James had said he'd help the kid out of his situation. No, James doesn't need to be a dad. However, James is, of course, going to be the best damn older brother the world has ever seen. And if that means guilt-tripping old man Lupin into adopting Harry, so be it then. James sits up, reaching blindly for his glasses. There's no way he's getting any sleep tonight. With that thought in mind, he holds his breath as he slips out from behind his bed curtains and all the way out through the door and down the stairs, passing the other fifth-year boys' dorm rooms on the way. It had been a relief, indeed, when he'd seen that Hogwarts had created a brand new dorm room just for them. The twins seemed like fine enough fellows, but sharing a dorm room with them on top of the other Gryffindor fifth-year boys, things would get crowded fast. James walks quietly into the blessedly familiar and mostly unchanged common room, making a beeline for the chair nearest the dying fire. To his surprise, he sees Harry curled up in the same spots he'd been in earlier, nestled right next to his sleeping friends, Hermione and Ron. James smells softly at the sight. At least he can die knowing that in another life, he and Lily had made a damn cute kid together. James is mostly surprised that Lily had ended up coming around on him. James wonders if something had happened with Snape. Maybe James had apologized to the kid, maybe reparations, and they'd all become best friends? James thinks back on the horrified expression painting the older Snape's face and grimaces. Yeah, probably not that. Oh, potions. Because if Snape teaches anything other than that, James will buy a hat and then eat it. He's going to be miserable. James wonders idly how hard it would be to test out of it early. Something worth looking into, he supposes. James leans back, thinking about what else is going to change. Oh, Quidditch. He wonders how good the team is right now. Hopefully only just good enough to win the addition of James. James doesn't know if he'll be able to last the year out without joining the team. Right. And then there's that whole... What did Old Man Lupin said? That Old Man Sirius is running around. James will probably have to figure out what that's about too, and then hopefully take care of him before he can do something to hurt Sirius. Even more than he already has. James lets out a shaky sigh. James? Harry whispers, cracking an eye open. Sorry, did I wake you? James asks, looking over at the boy. I couldn't sleep, so I came down here. He's kicking himself internally. It should have occurred to him that Harry is likely a light sleeper. That's... Harry starts, before breaking into a yawn. That's all right. Is there anything I can do to help? James shakes his head, smiling softly. Nah, he says. Don't worry about me. Harry nods sleepily, then suddenly gasps and sits up, pushing Hermione and Ron off of him. They stir a bit, but don't wake. What? James asks, looking around wildly. I have something of yours, Harry says excitedly. You, I should hope so, James says, blinking. I've had sort of a lot of things that should definitely have passed down to you. James waves him off. I can't really have things with me during the summer, so most of it is in the vault. But not, Harry says, reaching into her pocket. This. With a flourish, Harry withdraws a length of shimmering fabric that has James's heart leaping. The cloak, James says, hand reaching out for it. Harry goes to hand it to him, but James stops. Hang on, he says. What? Harry says. Take it. No, James says, eyes narrowed at the thing. He isn't totally sure, but thinks that it might be giving off the magical equivalent of a temper tantrum. I don't think that's mine. Not anymore. It likes you. That's not... Harry starts, then looks down at it. Oh, that's weird. Sorry. It's alright, James says, waving him off. I'll just have to borrow it sometimes, is all. Don't tell me you think the cloak has feelings too, Hermione groans, burrowing her face into Ron's shoulder. Ron lets out a snore. James shoots her a sheepish smile that she has no way of seeing, and says, It's sort of a Potter thing? Hermione looks up, dubious expression on her face. Is it really? I have no idea, James says. That's what I thought, Hermione mutters, still looking half asleep. Well, she pulls Ron's arm over her face. Go away now. Right, James says, laughing. I'll do that. Good night, Harry. Night, Harry says, settling back into his pile of friends. The next couple of days pass slowly, and most of it is made up of James, Remus, and Peter helping Sirius through the wicked cold he's come down with. At one point, Old Man Lupin had shown up, asking James when they wanted to go get their supplies, wands included. James says through the crack in the door behind him. Sirius is hacking up a lung. Maybe give us a couple days? Old Man Lupin grimaces. I'm sending Pomfrey up. No need, James protests. Sirius won't like that one bit. James, Sirius calls, voice scratchy and raw. Even to James's ears, he sounds like shit. I'm dying, James. This is it for me. Old Man Lupin raises an eyebrow. Alright, James concedes. Might not be a terrible idea. Sure enough, Sirius throws a bit of a fit as Madame Pomfrey comes bustling in. Madame Pomfrey shuts him down fast, though. In the way only Pomfrey can. Just let me die, Sirius yells hoarsely. He's standing on top of one of the beds, one hand securing the blanket wrapped around him, and one hand brandishing a pillow as though it's an incredibly poorly designed sword. Remus, James, and Peter all exchange tired looks. They're exhausted. It's been days of this. Days since any of them have been able to get a full night's rest. Mr. Black, I need you to get over yourself right now, Madame Pomfrey says, raising an eyebrow. I don't want to get better, Sirius says, emphasizing each word with another wave of his pillow. He has a fevered gleam in his eyes. I deserve this. Pomfrey sighs. taking the sickness as some divine form of retribution, yes? What if I am? Sirius asks, looking at Pomfrey with narrowed eyes. You, Pomfrey says, are not that special. Oh, Sirius says. James can see the fight going out of him. Sirius sits down. Okay. Out, Humphrey says, waving the others away as she picks her way through the chaos of the room towards where Sirius is coughing again. Out. They go without complaint. Sirius's cold goes away, and he seems to have calmed down a bit. James is still loath to leave him alone, but he does relax a little. Old Man Lupin takes them to go get their school supplies, and James is starry-eyed as he takes in the Diagon alley of the future. Padfoot, are you seeing this? James says, staring at the brooms on display. I'm gonna go in there and chew on all the brooms, Sirius says, eyes wide. James smacks his arm, and Sirius turns to look at him, wounded expression on his face. It's a compliment. Padfoot would never chew on subpar brooms. Please, Remus says, rubbing his eyes. The full moon is in a few days, and it's shaping up to be a bad one. Please can we move on? I want to go home and get to bed. Old Man Lupin grimaces, then nods his head. We do need to get a move on, he agrees. Sorry to cut the fun short. James keeps catching Old Man Lupin looking at Remus with an expression he can only describe as insurmountable grief, which makes him feel all sorts of ways, mostly panicky. Remus has never been able to understand why James, Sirius, and Pete have such a hard time with him tearing himself apart once a month. Why they go to the lengths they did to be able to run with Moony on the full moons. That he shouldn't have to just grin and bear the werewolf thing. It seems like the cure for that is growing up another 18 years, going through hell and then being forced to watch your 15-year-old self go through the transformation alongside you. Although, knowing Moony, Old Man Lupin is still convinced that he needs to suck it up, just not the kid version of him. The kid version should be given a reprieve. James loves his friends with his whole heart. It's just that sometimes he wants to slap them. Turns out that extends to the older versions too. As he and his friends split up to acquire their books, James wonders how hard it would be to slap sense into Old Man Sirius. Might be worth a shot. Then Old Man Lupin wouldn't be forced to raise Harry alone. Speaking of. So, James says, falling into place beside the older werewolf. Old Man Lupin is browsing the marked down books towards the back of the shop. Harry, huh? Old Man Lupin grimaces. What about him? Well, James says, reaching up and brushing his hand across a dusty-looking muggle book. I'm not 17 for another year and a half, so I can't get custody yet. What do you say about taking the kid until then? Old Man Lupin chokes on air, and James absolutely reaches up and pats the man on the back. James, Old Man Lupin chokes out. I'm a werewolf. I can't just take a kid. It wouldn't be safe. Alright, James says, smacking his hand on his forehead. I can't believe I forgot. Old Man Lupin turns to look at James with a flat expression. I didn't forget, James clarifies. I know you didn't forget, Old Man Lupin says. Did you know he was bitten by a basilisk a couple months ago? James continues conversationally. Old Man Lupin stops, face going pale and eyes going amber. He was what? James says, and took out old Oldie in the process. You know, for the third time. Lucky for everyone, he had a phoenix lying around. Just think, if Fawkes hadn't been there, we'd be down one boy savior. James had made Harry and his friends sit down and tell James what had happened over the last couple of years. Needless to say, he was not impressed. Not with anyone. Would it kill a single adult to be responsible? Some days, he and the headmaster will be having words. Oh my god, Old Man Lupin says, voice hoarse. Yeah, right, it's nuts, James says, laughing. And you know what else? I talked with his friends, Ron and Hermione. Did you know Ron and the twins literally rescued him from his aunt's house a couple of summers ago? There were bars on his windows. He hadn't eaten in a week. Old Man Lupin is now leaning against the shelves, breathing hard. James is trying to muster up some sympathy, but he's having a real hard time of it. Mostly, he's thinking about where old man Lupin could have possibly been for the last 12 years. Not there for James's son, that's where. He didn't look so good, either, a face covered in bruises. James continues, keeping his tone light despite the pools of anger collecting in his chest. He pulls down one of the books off of the shelf. Yeah, James says, handing the book to the wolf. I think you'll be wanting this. Old man Lupin, without looking up, snatches the book, titled Parenting Children of Trauma, from James's hand. James walks off, hands in his pockets, and whistling cheerfully. That had gone well. Now all he needs to do is acquire a rolled up newspaper, a spray bottle, and find Old Man Sirius. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. I love this. I think it's gonna be more funny from here. I can't fully remember. I think it ends funny, but like there's a lot of dark parts at the start. Yeah. Anyway, I remember this being so funny, and I'm like going through and like it's not all laughs, but it is still super funny. I love that. He's just like, you're gonna be meaning this. I'll be giving Remus a mental breakdown. I can't wait for him to find Sirius. It'll be hilarious. It really will be. I think this has a happy ending. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it does. I like happy endings. Thank you very much. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. I will see you some points in the future. I have no clue when. Bye bye.